Hello, screenwriters, and welcome to Writing for Screens, the screenwriting step-by-step project, episode 241. My name is Glenn Gers, and I come to you every Monday through Friday, if I can make it, at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time Zone, to let you look over my shoulder, share my screen as I write a script. I'm doing this in order to teach a part of screenwriting that I feel is a little under-taught, which is the process, the actual line-by-line, scene-by-scene writing of pages into a script. I'm not talking about how to write a great script. I'm not talking about what kind of scripts to write. I am just saying this is a way to get the thing written. It's not the only way. It's not the best way. It's the way that I taught myself, figured out for myself in a 25-year career, writing for TV and movies. On my way out of this business, I am leaving behind the tips and tricks and skills that I figured out because I didn't have it when I was starting and I could have really used it. So that is what this is all about. I'm a little flustered. I just literally, as some of you may know, I am 5 minutes late because I just stepped in the door from having lunch with a friend, and I didn't think I was going to make it at all, but I did. So I am not quite entirely prepared. Hi, Jean. Hi, Enco. Hi, Donna. Good. Great to see all of you. You are welcome. Hi. So yeah, let me just do a quick bit of a quick catching up here. For those of you who do not know, these step-by-steps are a lovely experience, but they are not the main thing I have to teach. The main thing I have to teach is in the first 3 playlists on my channel. On the Writing for Screens channel, which you are currently on, go to the first 3 playlists on my page: Screenwriting Essentials, Screenwriting Tools, Skills, and Craft, and The Process, Being a Writer. This is where I try to take topics that I think are valuable, like flashbacks, genre, dramatic action, whatever it was that I thought, oh, I think someone needs to know this, and I tried to boil that down to a 10-minute little mini lecture that I try to keep very, very simple, very, very practical. There is no grand system. There is no, you have to do this one before this one, just little bits and pieces that may be useful to you, because I believe every writer has to figure it out for themselves. You've got to take from all sorts of different places and figure out what works for you, because you are different than me. Everyone has their own way of working. Everyone has their own way that they are trying to work, to be the work that they are trying to make. So that is what I have to offer. That is why I am here. Hi, something else. Hi, Maritolitoso. Hello, Burgundy. Thank you very much. It's a little sweaty. I just hopped off my bicycle. Yes, I had a very good lunch. Thank you. So I caught up with a friend I had not seen in a while. I need to do a couple things on my desktop here because I honestly did not think I was going to make it. And by the way, tomorrow I will be out again. So let's just make the most of this moment. Just opening up my folder here of the project, and let's get to it. All right. Hi, Bartek. Greetings to Poland. Nice to speak to you too. Glad that you are here. Glad that I am here. Okay. So let us open up this pitch document. Oh, that's right. Yesterday I realized that I have over synopsized. This synopsis is a synopsis of the pilot, not of the season, of the series. So let me try again. I'm going to hold on to this because you never know. It's nice to have, but I'm going to rethink the whole point. Let me think about what if you're doing a synopsis. It's kind of important to get the main points. It's not a bad idea to do an outline of a synopsis. I know that sounds crazy, but it may actually help. In this case, what I need to get through is Season 1 tells the story of Madeline and Norman. Let's put Madeline first. Madeline and Norman. Two people with no interest in hunting serial killers. That's unusual. Two people with no interest in hunting serial killers. Serial killers who get dragged into a group of amateur who get reluctantly dragged? No, dragged into suggests amateur to an online community of amateur crime cracker detectives dragged into the hunt for serial killer buy-in. No interest in two people with no interest in hunting get dragged into the hunt for a serial killer. Is that repetitive or is it funny? That's the question. This is often the question. Is it repetitive? Is it clumsy? Or is it funny? Two people with no interest in hunting serial killers who get dragged into the hunt for a serial killer. See, I think that's funny. By an online community of amateur crime cracker detectives. Crime cracker detectives. Two strangers. All right, that's getting even more interesting. They would quit the group Thank you. Yeah, I think it is. They only get involved. Madeline's ex-husband is murdered. Though they only get though she has not spoken to him in 30 years, she is his next of kin and inherits his ramshackle home, which happens to hold hang on just a second, gotta quickly text. Okay. Sorry about that. Making plans. though she has not spoken, not no spoken, not spoken to I think Madeline only gets involved because her ex-husband is murdered. Apparently by the chemistry set killer, CSK, a cold case serial poisoner. Though Madeline has not spoken to her ex, you can't say him because the last him we had was the killer. Madeline only gets involved because her ex-husband is murdered, apparently, note that, allegedly, apparently by the chemistry set killer, a cold case serial, a forgotten, long dormant, a forgotten cold case serial poisoner. Though Madeline, she is his next of kin. Let's hyphenate next of kin to make it one thing. Next of kin and inherits his ranch, which may hold crucial evidence naming CSK. A true crime podcaster is murdered. Okay, so isn't it amazing how often you have to rewrite the same thing in different words? Like, how different is this from this? Well, because this one I'm starting with George and stuff. This is just getting right to Madeline. Season 1 tells the story of Madeline and Norman, two strangers with no interest in him, who fall in love when they get dragged into the hunt. Okay. Now this is admittedly okay. Madeline only gets involved because her ex-husband, a true crime podcaster, is murdered, apparently by this chemistry set killer, CSK, a forgotten cold case serial poisoner. Though Madeline has not spoken to her ex in 30 years, she is his next of kin and inherits his ramshackle home, which may hold crucial evidence identifying. Because of eager to find that evidence, the crime crackers group converge on Madeline, led by ambitious young influencer Xena. Let's bold. Let's bold these names. Okay. Hello, Hunter. Working on your third screenplay. Congratulations. That is good. A horror thriller screen series. Have you ever written a horror script? I have indeed written several. Yes. One of them I wrote is called Inner Demons, which was produced. I did not love that. They did not use my script entirely. As often happens when you write a script, the people in charge, the people with the money and the director and other people involved can say, oh no, I want to change it. And they can. They do. So in that particular case, I wrote something, I had a plan for it. They took parts of what I wrote, but they also did their own rewrites. So that in his Inner Demons does not really represent my writing, but I do have the credit on it. I did write it. I have written a couple others which did not get made. And like Sheriff Follow, which is actually a thriller, but it was released by a horror company. Okay. Meanwhile, Nathan, I have outlined a lot and have more than enough to start my novel, yet every time I try, I end up back in the planning file again. Please bestow me. Okay, it doesn't feel, no. Yeah, it's and habit. It's weirdly habit. This is a good question to get into for all of you, which is, if you find yourself like stuck in one phase of your writing and you can't get to the other, partly you need to, and you're going to hate this one, do it anyway. I mean, like, do it badly. Do it like the way I would do it is like, if you have an outline, if you have outlined and more than enough outline to start your novel, then if you recall, and this may help you to go back to the early phases of this very series of step-by-steps, I hit a point where I had the outline. It was okay. There were a lot of sections that were very janky and not quite filled in. But at a certain point, I just said, I am going to write a rough draft. And then what you do is you make a copy of your outline and do what I call a scene list. Do I have one here? Let me see. Hang on. Scene list. Let me see. Yeah, here. Okay, so at a certain point, I just took the outline and let's see, this is the outline scene list 717, and this is the that's the overview. Sorry, the outline pilot outline 717. Okay, so let's look at this. Here's what I did. I took my outline and then I have so there's this line. So I just take that line alone, just the headline, and make a list of every scene in the outline. So this is just a list of all the scenes in the outline, right? Which is basically made by copying, always copy, do not use your original document, and then reducing, deleting everything in this that's a detail. So that all I have is this, a list. Now, this list, if you choose to, you could reformat to just make it one page, just reduce the type, reduce the space between the lines. The idea is to make it a checklist and just say, okay, I am going to write a rough draft of this scene. Just this scene, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to get something down. And then you write just crap. Just whatever crap. It could be just like, George falls down and dies. Whatever the worst version is that you can think of. So then do that for every scene. Then you will have like a 15 or 20 page draft, right? Describing George dies, describing Madeline comes into the police station, and the police, all you might have in your head is policeman is very suspicious of Madeline. So right, like policeman is very suspicious. Try and think of things he might say if he was suspicious. Where were you on the night of the 13th? Whatever it is. Then just get something down there. Later, when you have your 20 pages, you'll go back and you'll say, my God, this is a pile of garbage, which it is, but that's okay because now you have something to work from. You can look at any one of these scenes, and you do not have to do them in order, and say, how can I make this a little better? How can I describe the policeman a little more? How can I explain Madeline's reaction a little slower? Whatever it is, that's how you get it. You get it a rough draft by just throwing down bits and pieces. Is that making sense to you, Norman? And the main thing about this, Nathan, that what you need to do is, if you have an outline, you can write a rough draft. That's the name of the game. If you have an outline, and this is why I urge people to have an outline, because if you have an outline, you can write a rough draft. And if you write a rough draft, you can revise it into a good draft, because the rough draft will be monstrous. It will be terrible. But there will be little bits and pieces like, oh, okay, so the policeman smokes a cigar, and you describe the smoke of the cigar curling over his head, since you're writing a novel, and you describe him blowing it at her. Whatever it is, now you have something. And pretty soon you have the start of the scene. The policeman didn't want to be there. He hated this whole case, and he wished that he could get back to whatever he liked doing. That's how you do it. Thank you, Wolf Powers. I really appreciate it. Like, Share, Follow is great. It's just not horror. It's not. I mean, it was done. It was produced by a company that makes horror, but it really wasn't a horror movie. Do I use? Yeah, I did. I did use Final Draft for Inner Demons. Okay. Do a daily. Yes, Donna's absolutely right. If you just do a daily live stream, you'll be forced to keep you on point. Yeah. Write bad prose. Exactly. You can't write goodly until you write badly. Jeff is 100% right. Cool. Like I said, the script of Inner Demons was actually, because it was found footage, it's Inner Demons is mostly my ideas for scenes, but not my dialogue. I did not write most of that dialogue, and I urge you not to take it too seriously as far as my writing goes. I wrote some of it, not all of it. And some parts of it are okay, and some parts of it just don't work at all. But that's my opinion. Other people will love it. I just don't like the third act, especially. Okay. Yeah. Write the bad version. That is absolutely right. And don't feel bad. The worst version is better than no version, because you can. Yes, exactly. That is right. Marital Latoso is right. In fact, I don't even like to call it the bad version. Call it the rough version, because it's not bad. It just needs work. It's not bad. It's actually got many good things in it, you will find, in the bad version. I mean, you are seeing me do it right now. What I am doing as I write this is I am writing a rough version, which I am then refining. For instance, I just did this rough version, and I realized that I had focused on too many steps, which I needed to summarize. So I rewrote it, and in this case, you can see both versions into a shorter, just trying to make it shorter, because I felt like it was running too long for a summary. So there we go. I hope that helps, because it's the truth. It's the truth. All right. Eager to get a hold of that evidence. Eager just sounds too fun. Desperate to get a hold of that, to get a hold of that, a hold. I know it's legit, but it just seems it seems too cutesy. To obtain is too formal. Desperate to get that evidence. Okay, get. The crime crackers, led by ambitious young influencer Cena. The crime crackers group converge on Madeline. Converge ominously on Madeline and her ex's home. Norman, who is only in the group because he's studying them for a book he is writing on the decline of civilization resulting on, wait, I was writing about online culture causing the decline of civilization. Oddball. The potentially dangerous oddball detectives. He's only in the group because he's studying them for a book he's writing. Yes, absolutely. Zero. Although once again, I kind of like calling it the rough draft, the first draft. No, I mean, it's not the first draft. The first draft is like your 20th draft. But yeah, it is. It's the beginning. It's the foundation. It's the sketch. Yes, ambitious young influencer is indeed. That's why I felt like I could use it, because I feel like it's a recognizable type, trope, whatever. Norman. Who's only in them is clumsy, absurd. It leads to Madeline and Norman sleeping together. After that, they begin to fall in love. This is clumsy and absurd, but it leads to Madeline and Norman sleeping together. After that, they begin to fall in love. Okay, cool. That's not bad. See, that's somewhat the thing about a summary, a synopsis of a fictional thing is you also want it to be entertaining, to have a tone. The tone should match the tone of the project. That is actually hard because you're working in an entirely different voice. You're working in the voice of a narrator, of a summarizer, of a lecturer. Okay. Interesting. Okay, interesting. Well. Desperate to control that evidence? This is just desperate to obtain. Yeah, obtain. Desperate to obtain that evidence. The Crime Crackers group. Okay. I'm going to have to reread this later. Because this is the thing with all drafts. When you're writing it, your head is in a certain place. You have to step away and come back to it. And then you see things differently. And if you keep stepping away and coming back and doing a little work and stepping away and coming back, it gains quality. It gains, you can, of course, mess it up, but hopefully you will begin to get a sense of what it is and fix the parts of it that are not that, if that helps. Or you'll not so much get a sense of, but make a choice about what it is. You'll say, this is the tone I want to choose to use. This is the writing style. This is the pace. And then once you've made those choices, you work according to those choices. You can only make those choices by doing the work. No, absolutely not. Pitch documents are not required for anything. However, they are definitely not. If you have a feature, then you want to just write the feature script. You want to write the feature script, and then if you need to write a quick one paragraph summary, do that later. Sometimes someone will say, can you give me a one paragraph summary of it, or give me a one page version? So it's nice to have, but the point about a pitch document for a series is there is a great deal of the story that simply does not exist, and that's what it's for. Well, ideally, by the time you've gotten to the end, you can go back to early parts, and it will have been weeks or months since you've done them, so that you can kind of keep doing it. I don't like, for my personal case, I usually, by the time I get done, I'll take a day or two off and then go back to it, because, as I said, whatever I wrote at the beginning will be weeks ago, and I can go back to that by the time I get to the end. To study them. Only in the group to study them for a book he's writing. See? 2, talent. How did you handle it? Oh wait, sorry, I missed. There's a. Can you imagine if there was a labor union for ambitious young influencers? Yes, I actually, influencers union, influencers group. Yes, I would say there's. By the way, there are things like YouTube has these houses. I don't know if they even do it anymore, but yes, there will be places which are generally provided by corporations that are managing or promoting or using influencers, and they will create a home with a bunch of them so as to create content. So yeah, that's a possibility. 2, talent. How did you handle it? I am not sure where that comes from. Gene, what do you mean? What do you mean? How did I handle having talent? If you explain the question, I will try to answer it. Xena and the crime crackers all come together. And immediately fall apart. Split apart because Madeline and Norman want to have nothing to do with solving crimes. CSK calls them on the phone. All right. I often wait a week or more and use the time working on something else. Yes, it is real. The Moons of Madness, I heartily agree. If you can work on something else, it will allow you to come back to the work with very, very fresh eyes. If you just take time off and you have a vacation and you do other life things, but you don't work on anything else, when you come back, you haven't really broken away. There is something about starting work on something else that helps you to look at your own work freshly. And by the way, I would say that the question of how long do you step away, it depends. It entirely depends. Sometimes I'm just sick of it and I need to take months off, but sometimes I'm excited and I want to work on it. So It depends. Okay, how much do new writers usually get paid for? It depends. If you are talking about union jobs, that those numbers are available from the Writers Guild of America, writersguild.wga.org. Let me see if I have that here. I think I got it somewhere. Yeah, here, there's a wga.org. Forget the copyright part. They have a thing called the MBA. It's the business, the minimum business agreement. Union wages are set, and there's a very specific list of those. If you are not in the union, your pay depends on how much the person has to pay you, how much you can afford to take. There are no rules. It has to do with the reality of your experience and the reality of the people you're working with. I will try to talk about that more in detail in a specific Ask Me Anything, but that's a very complicated question. The basic answer is if you are in the union and writing professionally, that information is available from the union. If you are not, it is entirely negotiable. There is no such thing as usually or normal. There are people who will write a script for nothing, for promises. And there are people who would say, I need to be paid, tens of thousands of dollars. Depends on who's paying. Okay, I will go back up. Hold on. I'm going back up. I'm looking for Jean. Jean. Hi. Jean, I don't see it. I'm lost. I apologize to Talent. This is the first one I see. I feel badly, but I do not know. I do not know what you mean. That's okay. That's all right. Try again if you want, or just email me, or put in the comments, or go to writingforscreens@gmail.com, and you can just ask me. 30-day vacuum. Yeah, cool. Everybody has different. Everyone is different. Everyone does it their own way. Just when Madeline, Norman, Zena, and the Crime Crackers all come together, and immediately split apart because want. This is just an awful lot. Just as Madeline and Norman reluctantly confront Zena and the Crime Crackers, just when doesn't know, just as when Norman and confront Zena and the Crime Crackers to confront them to and yes, I know what that's like, Gene, too. Not a problem. It's okay. All right. Hold on. When Norman and Madeline confront Zena and the Crime Crackers, refusing to get involved in hunting a serial killer, just as the serial killer, once again, kind of funny, calls on the phone, telephones them. Okay, so why are first drafts considered the worst? Um, well, Jeff has thoughts. Barring the adult filming, I can't imagine a first draft has ever been sold or filmed. I could be wrong. um, it depends on who you mean considered by whom. If you mean considered by like here's the thing. Most people don't show their first draft to anyone because when you are writing a first draft, you are still figuring out what you want to say. So you're not figuring out how to say it as well as you can. You're just figuring out what it is. You're just finding it. So therefore, it's bad. And this is why I keep saying it's not bad. It's just unfinished. It's rough. It's experimental. Um, and what you need to do with that rough draft, that beginning draft, is begin to recognize which parts of it are good and which parts of it need to be brought into line with the good ones. That's how I look at it. I don't look at it as bad because I really don't think it's bad. I think like there's something good in there. Um, the point about a rough draft is if you are writing a rough draft and you have like an approximate version of what you want to say, but you can't really get it, you write down the approximate version. You write down as close as you can. That's not great, but it's something that you need in order to get there. Just as I use the example of sketching. If you're going to do a fine art drawing of something you're looking at, the first thing you do is you get the rough shapes of it. You will do literally what is called a sketch, which is a rough, loose, messy formulation of the shapes and the composition and the forms and try to get the basics of the picture down. Then you'll begin to go over that and refine it. Choose a specific line among the 4 or 5 that you sketched in and say, this is the line. That's what you are doing with a draft. Get it down and don't fuss. Exactly. Rewrites, then you fuss. The idea about this is that because it is hard, it is emotionally difficult and intellectually challenging to get things out of the abstract in your head and into the concrete of words. You need to recognize it as a process that takes a while. It takes steps. That's why you do drafts. That process of forming things into words is a process you need to practice a lot. Even when you've practiced it a lot, you still need to do drafts. But especially when you haven't practiced it a lot, you feel bad. You feel like, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm doing. This isn't good. You have to learn to write it down even though it feels like you don't know what you're saying, because that's how you will find out what you are saying. How rare is it for a second draft ends up being the draft you used? The truth is, it is rare. Like the scripts are never. You never stop rewriting scripts that are being filmed. They are being filmed during. They are rewritten over and over and over again. They are rewritten. Honestly, it is not unusual for there to be 20 or more drafts before filming. And then, honestly, during filming, there are rewrites. And after filming, you very often do rewrites. First of all, the editing is a rewrite because they change the order of things and they change the what's in there. But also, you actually do rewrites and they reshoot things. So you never stop rewriting a script. It's the other reason why I don't like scripts, because I think that there comes a point where it's like, yeah, that's good enough. Let it go. Put it out to the audience. But you can't do that with a script because there's a lot of requirements that make you have to rewrite, even if it's pretty good. First of all, do people have different opinions and they get a say? And also, there's just mechanical realities that have to be accommodated. Okay. Calls them. I'm going to assume that calls is recognizable as calls on the phone. All right. Okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. Let's see. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop here. I think I am. I think I'm going to stop here. I'm going to quickly run back and see if I've answered everyone's questions. Yeah, it's looking good. Okay, so I think I'm going to stop. Listen, tomorrow I will not be here. Thursday, October 6th, I am occupied in the afternoon. I will be back Friday. Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock, I will be here. Yes, Mad Money had lots of rewrites. Fracture had even more. There's nothing I have written professionally or personally that has not gone through countless rewrites. But honestly, the truth is, rewriting is writing. It's part of writing. Rewriting is a natural part of the process. So therefore, while there will be parts of your first draft that are so good they last all the way through, there will be other parts that don't, and there will be other parts that have to change, even though it's not because they're not good. Not all of rewriting is about good or bad. It's really a great idea to stop thinking in terms of good and bad and start to think in terms of, what am I trying to accomplish? What feeling? What style? What's fun? What's working? That's the best thing. Okay. Something else, Hunter. The creation of subsequent drafts will usually call you to fall even further in love with your script. When it's working, it's really satisfying. This is true. You will discover things about your own work when you write it. If you never actually write the draft, there are many things about it that you will not know. Every writer that I know of, pretty much, most of the time, they find that in writing it, they learn about it. And this is not to say you shouldn't outline or you shouldn't know what you're doing. I'm saying even with all of that, you are still discovering and creating as you work through the process of writing drafts. That's the whole point of drafts. I really urge you not to think in terms of before writing, and after writing. There's no such thing. There's creativity and work all the way through the outline, the rough draft, and all the drafts that follow. It's all one process. It's just different techniques you use to build up the work. Yes, that can happen. You can change. That is the other thing about a rough draft. Often in a rough draft, because you're thinking as you do it, you're discovering things. You will sometimes have a character change substantially during the draft, and you say to yourself, "Oh, I'll go back and I'll fix the rest to match this later. This is the right thing." That is okay. Yeah, sometimes good bits get cut in the rewrites because they not so much don't work anymore, although that happens, but because first of all, they may come in conflict with something that's more important. And that's one of the reasons that I do urge you to outline, because you can, to a certain extent, save yourself from some of that suffering. One of the worst things that you can have happen is to write like a brilliant bit of dialogue or a really great scene, something that you just love, and then something else that you figure out is more important that requires you to cut that piece. That's a crappy feeling. I urge you to try to at least have some sense of the main choices so that you don't find yourself writing large sections of story that you're going to throw out. It happens anyway, but try to avoid it. Okay. Yes, Anthony Hopkins and Ryan Gosling were both extremely nice to work with. They were both extraordinarily nice, actually, like shockingly nice. And it was, it was not an easy, there were a lot of rewrites on Fracture, and it was not easy for anybody. And yet everyone involved in that behaved really nicely and treated me very nicely, which is, I was low man on the totem pole. And yes, they were very, very nice. And with that, I say to you all, see you Friday, go write something.